Hello everyone and welcome back to The Boring Teacher. In this video we are going to discuss Archimedes Principle, an important concept in fluid mechanics that will help us understand why objects float or sink in water. So if you are a student looking for an easy explanation of Archimedes Principle or an educator teaching this concept, rest assured this video is going to be very helpful to you. So let's dive in. Alright then, let us begin with the first obvious question. What is Archimedes Principle? It states that when an object is completely or partially immersed into a fluid, it experiences an upward force. That upward force is known as buoyant force. Now, how do you calculate the magnitude of buoyant force? It is equal to the weight of the fluid that is displaced by the object when it is immersed in it. We all know that the weight acts in the downward direction, whereas the buoyant force acts in the upward direction, which is opposite to the direction of the weight of that object. Now, if the weight of the object is more than the buoyant force which is acting in upward direction, the object will sink in the given fluid. And if the weight of the object is less than the buoyant force, then the object will float in the given fluid. To understand why some objects float and sink, we also need to understand density, mass and volume of an object. Density is the amount of matter that is present in a given volume. Mathematically, it can be calculated by dividing the mass of that object and the volume of that object. If the density of the object is higher than the density of the fluid, it will sink. And if the density of the object is less than the density of the fluid, it will float. Another important concept which is related to Archimedes Principle is water displacement. When an object is immersed into water, it displaces certain amount of water based on its volume. Now, if you calculate the volume of the water that is displaced, you can also calculate the buoyant force. And by this way, you can also determine that the object will float or sink in the given water. Let us take a few examples to better understand these concepts. You have a toy boat which is made up of plastic and you put it in water, it will float because it is less dense than water. It creates buoyant force which is very high than the weight of that boat. Hence, it floats. On the other hand, if you put a metal ball in water, it will sink because it is more dense than the water. So there you have it, a brief introduction about the Archimedes Principle and its importance in understanding buoyancy. By understanding density, mass, volume and water displacement, we can decide whether an object will float or sink in the given fluid. Thank you for watching and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. See you all later.